Oh, well, welcome to Now Lena Bradford.
What?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I came into New York to do Tribeca, and my girl Daniela got on producer, pulled all the girls together, kind of last minute produced this whole series on Pride.
Yeah.
So I know this was sometimes, we do things last minute and you just said yes.
Of course, because this is what was supposed to happen.
Yes, this was what's supposed to happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With this being now, no opportunity wasted.
Mm-hmm.
And now hearing that during Pride Month, you have the opportunity to represent New York as the Grand Marshal. What does this opportunity mean to you? And tell me just your idea of what it means to not waste this opportunity as you show up.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, sister.
Yes,
it's always so delicious to see you. And you look disgusting.
Oh my goodness, girl, they had a stylist and everything, baby. Yes,
they
thank
brought
you
you
to the
together,
stylist.
girl.
Yes.
Growing up in Manhattan, I knew that was a big honor. I didn't know how they got the honor, but I knew it was a big honor. And just throughout the years from, back in the day till now, seeing the people who were representing for, being Grand Marshal is something other special.
Yes,
yes. It really is, because then you start to really look at that person and the way that they've been traveling and their whole vibration through life. And you're like, that's why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes other people look at the Pride Parade a little bit differently, because we do have a Grand Marshal. We are the architect of why other people have prides all over this country and all over this world.
Wow, tell it. You're right. New York.
So,
yes.
honey, it's where the get down starts,
You know what, though? Also, when I think of New York, I think of Lena Bradford.
Yeah.
Like, you have been a part of the scene for a long time. Can you talk to me just about your perspective, DJing in some of the most lit celebrations in
from then till now.
From then till now. Like, tell me about that experience for you.
I love getting a perspective of people from outside the city. So you just saying that and like leading up to this is exactly why I think that people gravitate toward New York, and why some of the people that I, being born and raised a Manhattanite, revere our implants. And our implants, our implants as New Yorkers, because of the perspective that they bring from different cities and different countries. I love that. And they bring things that we sometimes overlook being a New Yorker, So for me, growing up in Manhattan and, coming up from, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, sometimes I feel like I'm a pod person looking outside like, wait, what happened? But then there's other times I'm just like, this is why this is my city and why it's so special, because there's beautiful hiccups and moments. It's a different kind of New York, I won't front, because, these devices, people have become a little more introverted where, I'm very much out there and I love to talk to people.
I love that about you.
Thank you, sister. And so I have to remind people, not without saying it, but just with my actions, that look, talk to somebody in their face. You can meet your best friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and also learn things by just speaking to somebody. That's what's so wonderful about New York.
I think that's one of the things, though, that separates you and that gives you that factor, because what do you think it is that has kept you in this industry so long? Because as you know,
you're absolutely right.
One wrong move. And you're out of here.
I think that because I am not only a New Yorker, but I'm a princess of light. I'm a very spiritual person, and I'm connected to everyone's energy. So it's not a me thing. So when you say what you just said, has to do with that type of mentality, that if you're coming along thinking that it's you, you know what? There'll be people putting you in the backseat of the bleachers. You know what I'm saying? So because I keep myself very fresh and open all the time, that it has me kind of manifesting and going into different roller coasters and spots along with everybody else, and still doing it while still looking and feeling very grateful and fresh at the same time.
Now I'm a girl of a certain age. I know, we're girls, we're mature women here, but I just, coming up, seeing you, Candace Kane, the stunts y'all just, I love y'all seeing y'all pulling stunts. Who was it for you that came before you
us that
kind of inspired you?
We were talking earlier. I say this to all the kids anytime I do an interview, so it can be a broken record. What?
Yeah.
you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from.
Right,
So
right.
because I was always very thoughtful of the people and my predecessors, my brothers and sisters, of why it is that we're here, you know, from fashion to activist, all of it. I always paid attention. I mean, to my grandmother taking me to Garage and Studio 54, you know, I was going out when I was 11, you know, because back in the day, if you were with the right people, they weren't carding you. New York's a different breed, you know what I mean? So I've seen and I've done things, you know. My grandmother, as most are the matriarch of the family, she's been a part of the S&M contingency of the gay pride
Wow.
since the 70s. She also has a female and a male slave. Like, she's a dominatrix, but she was also a famous opera singer. That's why I grew up across the street from Carnegie Hall. So I come from that. So being around colorful people, it was important for me to know about this. So it wasn't ever thinking to myself, that person's different, that person's special. So I never dissected people. And I say a label is something that I wear, not something that you can acute me to.
Oh, we love that.
I love that.
I think y'all need to let that sit with y'all for a
Let it
moment.
simmer like
Let
some
that
good
simmer.
matzah.
So you as an artist, someone that, you know, really curates the music scene in many of these spaces, how have you seen your art and your creativity and your activism sort of go off the screen, you know, off the record, like
Yeah.
into the streets, into community? Because I've seen you, like, you're on boards. Like, what does your activism look like when you step out of the DJ booth?
Well, you know what's funny is that it's just the opposite. My life got me ready for all these things.
Yeah.
To be here as, oh my goodness, I'm actually a part of HMI, which I always thought was amazing. That I was like, oh my God, there's a school for gay, lesbian, and, you know, and trans people. I always thought that was amazing. You know, I didn't want to go to it, but I thought it was cool because, you know, I think of how I was raised, and, you know, because my family embraced me, you know, being a biracial child in Manhattan and just coming from what I came from, I was always the most popular person in grade school and junior high school. And I had this way of bringing all the different groups and people together. So I knew I was good, and I also knew that I needed to be visible. I always knew that because of where I came from. I was always around older people and paid attention, that when I would go back to school, be like, you talk like a mature person. And because I was always hanging out, like I said, living an alternate life with my grandmother going out, that I had this old school soul within me, but also an appreciation just to listen to everybody's temperature and feel everyone's vibration, and know that, you know what, we can all be on the same page, but people get to a different place at a different time.
They sure do. And so with those people that you said that, you know,
So that, I mean, not to cut you off, but that all prepared me for the things that it is that I'm doing, was when I was younger, is what I meant to say.
no, that, you know, but I really do think that sometimes we as LGBTQ folks, trans folks specifically, I know I missed out on the things I needed to hear from my mother, from other women,
Right.
to prepare me from what I was walking into.
Right.
So I know how important it is to have those people who are mature enough,
Right.
who can guide you into those certain spaces. And it's so wonderful to hear that because you can tell that you've had those type of voices, but now it's your turn.
Yeah.
So what would you say to the younger generation that's coming up right now? Whereas, again, things may not have been as, let's say, politically hostile when we were coming up, but it didn't make it any less dangerous. We didn't have words for the things, but we learned to navigate things, even though it was treacherous and community was key.
Yes.
But what would your advice be in this current political climate? How do we navigate this time? What can you give as words to the folks coming behind us?
That's such a beautiful
after us?
lead up, darling. And I, on the contrary, I am a very optimistic person. You know, I am an empath. And like I said, I'm very spiritual. I don't ever believe that there's any mistakes in this gig called life. I believe that we're all supposed to be with what's happening right now. For instance, this situation happening 2 days ago,
Yes.
where we are in our current climate situation. These kids today are so proactive and so on the pulse of, what the hell was this bullshit going on beforehand? What is this?
I didn't know a lot about any
what
of
is
this
this
stuff.
all old oligarchy kind of carrying on? They just don't have, and rightfully so. It makes no sense. And the thing is that these dinosaurs are barking the most because they know they're almost extinct.
Yes.
If you look back at the day in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it looked more like them. The color, Benetton, Skittles, Taste the Rainbow. It's a lot different. And guess what? We actually have more of the power.
We do.
So, one, get your information from the right place, because major media outlets are not going to give it as what you think. It's all controlled.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We have such a beautiful underground railroad, if you will, of wonderful
Absolutely.
places to get your information from. So therefore, because they know that they're already extinct, they've got to do and say the most. So they're going to come out with the rhetoric. They're going to do all this stuff to scare you. Darling, they're the ones that scared. We got this. We are this. And we have been here before. And right now, we're supposed to be here right now because there's more of us.
Absolutely.
And we also have our allies and our people stepping up and being there for us and saying, no, this makes no sense. This is foolishness. We're done with this.
Mm-hmm.
So do what you got to do, Orange Cheeto and all the rest of your mascara, and your time is coming up.
Absolutely.
But right now is our time to be together.
Well, and I think that for me has been the point. Because we live in America, America's default has been individualism, capitalism over community.
Right.
And when you're Black, trans, or part of any marginalized community, sometimes there's a little confusion in what participation means and looks like.
Right.
And we know that we want to be able to participate in life, like everyone else has the ability to sports.
That's right.
We want to be able to participate, but we have to be mindful about participating in the narrative that they create about how. About the how, because they think the how is all individual, when I know the how is community, because it's because of community that this even happened this weekend.
Right. Hello.
Community came together and put this together. BTFA gave us the space to do this.
Got right
Jordan,
there.
like, so I think we allowed the world and things to kind of get our attention in certain, because the what do you call money that is a currency?
Yes, the currency. Yeah.
The currency right now is attention, and people know that. That's why we need to turn our attention to community.
That's right.
Because that's the currency we can have.
That's the money.
Because
that's the real money.
I think now it would change with Pride's mostly booking cis het talent. If we learn to pay attention to the talent within our own community.
Exactly.
How do you see with music? How do you balance lifting up musicians that we all know are iconic, our Madonnas, our Beyoncés, our Doechis, and our Janelle Monáes, with our Vincents and our Alex Newalls and our Angelica Rosses and Mila Jams and, all the LGBTQ artists? How do you mix it all in and uplift these
I think that
voices?
Because we walk and we live that life, from all of the different hats that you and I both wear, to all of these artists that you mentioned, and also the people who make all of the stuff happen behind the scenes, So that's a walk of life.
Yes.
So when we do our art, when we sit right here, we do this, we're representing for everything that we've ever done. Our backbone strong, our tall neck is up to the sky. You know what I mean? So I feel like anytime that I'm curating anything, speaking, acting, DJing, it is my walk through life.
Yes.
And obviously, we have points and things that it is that we want to take going into certain things. So, I know ahead of time I get something from my team that this is the vibe. Therefore, I'll take that time and I will curate it, especially just for that.
Yes.
And that's with everything that it is that I do in life. From what I'm thinking about wearing, our armor is everything. Hello.
No, every time I see you, you don't play.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. You pull together, and it's always immaculate. Now, with the name of the show being No Opportunity Wasted,
which I love.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Now, explain, it comes from my Buddhist practice to say that, like, when we're talking about time and capacity, this is a concept we talk about a lot in Buddhism, time and capacity. We want to know many times, like, when is the right time to say something?
Yes. Okay.
Now.
Okay, now.
Now is always the right time. The difference is, I got to learn to keep checking in with myself and my capacity in that moment. Now, what is my capacity? And to be able to speak and show up and to take action with respect to my capacity in that moment, and with the respect to the capacity of the people and the environment that I'm in. So the moment's always now, but it's just about learning just what to share. You are about to share a lot of your story as you prepare to write your memoir. You're now looking back in hindsight and realizing no opportunity was wasted. I know it couldn't have been easy to go through the catalog of all those experiences. What did you need to do to prepare yourself for that?
Listen, you know, I am, I, I'm always thinking of other people. And I finally, 2 years ago, put myself first. And that always felt very selfish to me.
I know.
You know, I think being an only child, it was always about accommodating and making other people happy, you know? And I thought that thinking about myself first was selfish, you know? Obviously, maturity will teach you a lot of things, and patience is one of them. And I was supposed to get that message when I did. So when I started, you know, writing my memoirs 2 years ago, a lot of stuff came up, and I didn't realize how much I had put it away. And that's okay.
Because that's what we have to do sometimes to move forward.
Absolutely, because I realized that
But
if I had dealt with it,
eventually,
I didn't have the tools to deal with it.
At
And
the
I've
time.
always been very conscious and thoughtful about what I am attainable and able to understand and accomplish. Because I'm a perfectionist, but I have wiggle room.
Yes.
I don't make myself crazy. I'm an Aries, you know. I'm easy breezy, but I'm also very structured. But I knew that there were certain things that I didn't have the tools to understand, that I was going to put them behind a few Barbie boxes, and I was going to get to it later. Because if I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to polish it up, make it look nice, and especially as women of trans experience and color.
Yes.
We have to look better. We have to sound better. We have to dress better. We have to do better. We have to do all of these things because of the expectations put on us.
Absolutely.
Okay? So there's that. So we can't just walk in the room and just show up. No, we got to show out.
Absolutely.
And we've got to be articulate. We've got to be funny. And then also, people don't always really understand. There are sometimes if I've ever experienced any prejudice growing up, it was from my brothers and sisters who were of Black descent.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I'm like, if you look at my family, it is a Benetton ad. It's a tall salad, a mixture of everything. And that's me, but that's also New York. You know, and I never faulted any of them from that. But I do remember, like, you know, a few, situations when I was, going from one school to the next or whatever. And I ended up becoming friends. But 3, Black kids are like, oh, you think you're better because you've remembered when I had gone to a new school, and there was like 3 or 4 brothers and sisters saying to me, you think that you're better because you're light skinned and you've got good hair. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I have cousins that literally have your hair texture and have your skin tone. And because I was always around older people, I knew how to articulate these things. So I remember them being like this, like the way that I handled it. And then...
But you know what? I think that conversation, though, comes from the way that white supremacy works.
Oh, absolutely. Especially back then.
Yeah, but even now, the way that white supremacy works. Okay. So, because with white supremacy, the way that it really slays is that it runs away with the bag while we're fighting each other, when the real person we should be addressing is white supremacy.
Yeah.
So the reality is, what those kids are saying, oh, you think you're better than someone, they're projecting onto you the fact that white supremacy works, and they've set a value on you that is more than our dark skin, and it's something that you didn't create. And so we've had to learn to both hold what is our experience, that so many light-skinned folks have experienced this rejection, or you're not Black enough, or what have you, due to the real experience of dark-skinned people who, again, when we learn better language and learn things, we need to learn to shift our energy at the right people.
That's right.
And it's not at each other. Yeah.
I mean, and of course, they live to see that happening within.
Absolutely.
Because life was not designed for them.
So was it, I know it wasn't easy to go through all these stories and revisit all the things that you've been through.
Oh, that part about the book part.
Yeah.
It was actually, I think that because I was conscious about wanting to see a therapist at the same time when I was writing the book. I wanted to make certain that
That's so important.
I was cleansed and clear and right from my blood type.
Can I tell you that when I first had therapy, I got a therapist because I was like, well, that's what I got to do to get these moans. So that's what I'm going to do. And I was dating my ex-fiance at the time. And I just remember thinking that he had all the issues because he was not openly loving me and blah, blah, blah. And then a few appointments in, I realized, oh, okay, girl, I guess I got some things to talk about.
Yeah.
Was therapy always something that you considered, or was this your first time actually accessing therapy?
It's funny. I think that because I had always been the therapist to my friends, and also just how growing up, conversation was always very much there. And, like I said, from my grandmother and my parents and whatnot. So I felt like I had a really good, handle on things. And also I was always that person that people would come to for advice. And I always just had that kind of essence of, being able to be in the middle and give great advice that way.
Well, who heals the healer?
Well, see?
Yeah.
And so that's why I said, I was putting stuff away and I didn't realize it. So I had wanted to, but I knew that I would do it when I was in my grown and sexy.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the book, I was like, this is that moment.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was coming out of an 8-year relationship. I wanted to really get under the hood.
Yeah.
I wanted to get any stuff that didn't serve me any longer out and done. And now I'm living my lightest, best version. And that's what you want to be. You just want to live light and lovely.
But you know what? I don't know how you've been doing it, but you always look like you've been living light and lovely.
Well, thank you.
You always have that energy. When are we getting this book?
Oh God. Yesterday?
Yes.
Still tweaking it because again, I am a perfectionist and I still feel like, you know how it is, girl.
Same.
I feel like, listen, I will want to have her birthed out this year. But again, I've taken my time with
your patience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like I said, I've been doing this gig called Life a Minute. There is no rush in this. If I feel like this is the year, then this is the year.
Oh, thank you so much, Lena, for joining me.
Baby girl, you already know.
Now,
this is supposed to happen.
And this is just always just another stop on our road because we always, when we see each other, whether it's LA.
It doesn't matter where we are, what we're doing.
Thank you always for your support and shining
always.
your light and using your light to bring it to this production. Again, congratulations.
Thank you,
on
sister.
being the Grand Marshal, because I think now more than ever, we need to continue to center trans people who have been here in this fight and remind people how valuable we are to this movement.
Like, why are we only celebrated, especially our brothers and sisters who've been doing this for a long time after we're gone?
Yeah.
Like, baby, there's so many beautiful brothers and sisters who are still doing this gig.
Absolutely.
And flourishing. And we do not hear their voices. We still continue to focus and give light to a certain situation.
Well, listen, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity.
Absolutely, sister.
To uplift your voice for those that don't know. Because if you don't know, you've been living under a rock. If you don't know Lena Bradford, thank you so much for joining us now.
You, baby girl.
We will be right back.